Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're tuned in from. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream. Throw a 1 in chat if audio and visual is working. Man, these allergies have got me every day. I'm not sure why, but I keep getting audio is just doubling up and I do not know where it's from. I figured it out already. I hope everybody's feeling good. I hope you're looking good. I hope you're trading good. I hope you're protecting your capital. We got a lot to talk about. We got Mr. Bill Noble in the house again today. Looks like one of my lights is off, so let's go ahead and get that on. Now, before we really jump into everything and get things going, I want to just remind everybody, come over here to the BitLab Academy page if you're watching somewhere else, or even if you're watching here on YouTube. Make sure you are liked and subscribed and you hit that bell, ding that bell, engage with this channel, let YouTube know you like what's going on. And at the beginning of the show, I'm letting you know now, go ahead, come here and retweet this, the BitLab Academy daily tweet, which is at Academy BitLab on Twitter. They will throw the link there. I see Alexander G posted it in there, and I will pin this to the top as well. Let's see, just come over here and retweet this tweet, and you are going to get entered to win, which we will put at the end of the stream here. We have a variety of different things that we are offering. Basically, we're just trying to make sure we can give back to all of you. So I love and appreciate all of you. Market is starting to pump. Let me pin that to the top. There you go. Market's starting to pump. Does it mean we should just go all in? No, I've said this before. We need to make sure that we have a strategy. We have a plan. Let me see if Mr. Bill Noble's on the line. We were having some issue with the thing. Mr. Bill, could you give me a head nod if you can hear me? Awesome. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right in here. I just want to say welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kelly Kellam. Hope you're all having a good week. If you're not, that's okay. Not every day, not every week can be good. Sit with yourself. Sit away from a desk. Sit in the sunshine. Be with yourself so you can make sure that your inner operating system is putting out good output to the things that you're doing in the world. So with that being said, there's a lot going on in the markets right now. The markets are pushing higher. You know, a quick little show here before we jump right over to Bill. We can see that Dow Jones opened, is pushing up. It's pulling back a little bit. NASDAQ broke out of this falling wedge. Is this going to be a fake out? Who knows yet? We got the Dixie breaking down, already retested this level of previous support, now resistance. Is this going to find support here and start pushing higher? Well, we may be talking about that. S&P 500 pushing up, but more importantly, what we can look at right here, we're going to be going over this in a lot more detail and a lot more things that Bill's got to bring up here, but we can see the USDT dominance is breaking below this multi-year, nearly 2-year support line, which is critical for showing that if USDT dominance is dropping, this means that people are moving out of their dry powder and putting their capital that's in the crypto ecosystem back into getting positions in different assets, whether it be Bitcoin, Cardano, or whatever your favorite other asset is within the space. We can also see the total 3 has exploded out of this multi-year downtrend. Very good signs for any of you that are in altcoins have gotten positioned. We see Cardano has made a large explosive move. We do have a little bit of a double top here. Algorand coming up, somewhat of a double top here. We did break lower here as well. The graph starting to push higher. We're getting a lot of movement in the market. Gala pushed out, came back, retested this level. XRP pushed up, got a little bit of a double top, but finding support on previous high. What does all this mean? So without any further ado, let's jump right in. I'm going to bring on my guest, Mr. Bill Noble. You all know him, the man with the plan, the man that's been around before I even had a can of spam. So shout out to you, Mr. Bill. How you doing? How you feeling? Let's just start with that, and then we can dive into the crypto.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hold on a second. I got you. I'm not hearing you on your end. We can do it. Let me see. Oh, you know what? That might be on my end. That's on my end. Go ahead and talk. Sorry about that.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
See, guys, we got to just sometimes make you be wait and be a little patient there. So thank you for being back on. I'm loving having you on Fridays, getting a different take on the markets. You know, all of us that are in the markets all day long, every day, we can sometimes be blinded by bias. So How you feeling?
Hey man, I'm feeling good. I'm in the crypto industry and it's all green. The government tried to FUD us and how's that working out for them?
You know what? You are so right. I've got a chart. I'm doing some on-chain analysis on BitBoy Crypto later, and one of the charts I pulled up, it's a great chart that shows each time there's been a major centralized failure over the last year, there's been a massive offboarding of crypto off of exchange, and also an influx in purchasing, with the caveat of FTX, of course, that obviously drove some uncertainty in the markets. But even with SVB Bank and Signature, we're seeing an explosion into that Bitcoin as an alternative narrative. So is this going to continue, or is this a temporary thing, or is this just part of the pre-halving cycle?
Well, I would argue it's a part of the pre-solar eclipse cycle. So I've been pounding the table that there's a solar eclipse on the 20th. Solar eclipses are used by reputable cycle and timing analysts. One guy won an award in Barron's. So it's basically out with the old, in with the new in dramatic fashion. So if you're wondering what's going on in crypto, basically, your BlackRocks, your bigger players, your whales, and even your retail is going, I'm not putting money in the bank. I'm buying Bitcoin at 30. That's Michael Saylor's average price. And if it goes down, so be it. It's an ironic thing about dollar cost averaging. I mean, you can get vicious corrections in markets like this, but I think the people who have been bidding up Bitcoin for the last month would be actually happy if it went down so that they could get more. So the out with the old, in with the new thing is meaningful.
So for those out there, and I'll say this because I'll admit it myself. I once was skeptical of the fatted moon chart on Bitcoin, as well as some of the astrological impacts. But then, as anybody worth their salt in any industry that can move forward over time, is you have to be able to be open to new data points and have the gall to go and do some historical analysis before you make an attempt to really close your mind to it. And I have absolutely, without a doubt, seen as hokey as somebody may think it is. There is a direct correlation to not only in markets, but in society, in people, but especially in markets. It's most easily quantifiable because we can see these emotions and the psychology of people playing out in price action, which is essentially what we're doing when we're looking at a chart. So when is this solar eclipse, and is this somehow also potentially coincidentally lined up with the 4-year cycle, or is this just kind of landing right now and really setting things up to be interesting?
Okay, well, I don't know that it's directly connected to the 4-year cycle, but I think you can look at it as like the kickoff to a 4-hour game. William Gann, this is where this work comes from. I mean, the analytical tools that he invented some of them are in TradingView. He made $50 million trading in the 20s and 30s, which is, that's a lot of money. So the solar eclipse is probably a kickoff, right? It's sort of, Silicon Valley Bank. We all know that's not an isolated incident, right? And there are also other combinations, and I won't go through the jargon, but, planets are like actors on a stage. They wear costumes, they play different roles, and then they move around the stage. So if you can figure out where these planets are moving to, you can get some insight as to what's next. Well, there's one alignment that's so rare, it's only been around 2 other times. The French Revolution and the American Revolution, specifically putting in our Constitution. I would say that this is going to be a new economic contract between governments and the people and each other, which is essentially the crypto revolution. And if you think about technical analysis, TA textbook, page 3, page 5, in technical analysis, things happen in threes. So this crypto revolution that's happening is the real deal and probably the kickoff to the next cycle. That doesn't mean parabolic. right? But obviously, when it does rally, it's going to be robust.
When specifically is this solar eclipse? Is it sometime in April?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's April 20th.
Okay.
So, you're gonna see a lot in the news media around it, because when you look up, you're gonna see the moon with the ring of fire around it. It's called a hybrid solar eclipse. It was actually in some of Gann's books as things that trigger, cheery stuff like revolutions, wars, which in this case, looming events like that help crypto, because people are buying crypto in advance of these events, just like they were selling crypto in advance of the tightening cycle back in 2021.
So with that being said, for anybody that stays positive and green in markets, I would argue wholeheartedly only does it with the ability of having a broad array of tools and data points to basically stack the odds in their favor for when they're making their calls, right? And managing risk along the way. So this for anybody out there, if you haven't yet, you can go on to something as simple as like TradingView, and there's a free moon chart pattern that you could put on there, and you can see even the impact in the relationship between small, basically mid-time frame swing trades of price action dropping and rising on full moons and new moons. And this is a small impact, whether it's 100% correlated or not. If you see it on the chart and it's working, then I would never say for somebody to trade specifically on a solar eclipse or specifically on a moon chart. However, if you know that can give you some sort of edge and there is a correlation, then you can stack that, of course, against and with all of your other knowledge that you have. And that's what having an edge is knowing that other people have access to all the same data that you do. They just may not have been exposed to it yet, or they may not have been open to employing it in their strategy. So I want to challenge everybody to look at your strategy and see where you may need more tools in your belt, because there's always room to have a sharper edge, especially in the days now. And you'll know this more than I will, Bill. The days now, in the last 15 years, most specifically, compared to, let's say, the late 80s, it's a different trading environment. There's not only trading against the psychology of people, you're also trading against the speed of algorithmic computing, and basically automatic trade bots and algorithms, from very small time independent retail traders that have bought access to some smaller impactful things, and then these major Wall Street players that are so keen on it that they actually they have bidding wars for server space as close to the stock exchange as possible, because those milliseconds of difference can mean hundreds of millions of dollars in difference in how quick those algorithmic trades work. So the point being there for everybody that's trading is it is imperative if you are trading. I don't want not necessarily investing. If you're investing, you can identify good accumulation zones, have a long-term time horizon. If you are trading, you need to be on top of your strategy and out of your emotions. So have you noticed any shift like that at all in markets over the last 30 years as these algorithmic computing trading functions have entered the markets?
Sure. I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I can remember the day when, the chart guy on Wall Street, he was like the voodoo guy. I used to have to go to a newsstand to buy a weekly publication that would actually print charts of all the big markets. And then during the week, we would have to update them and keep them by hand. So in this day and age, right, everyone's got TradingView. Everybody's looking at charts. TA is a part, it's like wake up, brush your teeth, do TA. Now, in an environment, since I came from an environment was no one was looking at it, and now everyone's looking at it, you need two things. You need confluence, right? You need to have like multiple indicators in your research framework. Okay. And then you're going to need, some type of edge. And I know everyone knows that. But in research, you get paid for imagination. So if my imagination is, Gann's timing and seasonal work because I want to look at both price and time. In other words, everybody on crypto Twitter is looking at price. That's making me want to go look at both price and time because, you know, that's obviously the best way to figure out when the market is moving, and not just when, but why it's moving. So if you're like looking at this and going, okay, I'm new and some people talk over my head and I'm doing education, right? One of the first things you have to learn is, why does the market move the way it does? Like, for example, the failed rally in the dollar index. Dollar index fell out of bed after a failed rally. Bitcoin, Ethereum goes up 10%. Right. The why is the starting point.
No, I totally get that. And I guess, you know, what I would not argue is the wrong word. What I would suggest also, probably as more and more, especially in crypto, with the advent of computing and even pre-crypto, when you had things like E-Trade and other personally accessible direct-to-market trade transactions, not having to call a broker like in 1972 or 1985 or even 1991. Now there's a lot of direct-to-market access pre-crypto, and now with crypto, that's brought in a whole new era and epoch of investors. And the fact that crypto is growing so fast, and we have tools like right here, everybody in chat, shout out to you. We have these tools where people can tune into the live streams on YouTube. You can get different courses. There's so much knowledge and information out there for any of you that are looking for it. So much free knowledge out there. And there's also plenty of paid knowledge as well to take things deeper. But with that, I would say the edge I see is the ability to detach emotionality and focus on the facts that are there, rather than jumping into hype or selling out of fear, which I think is, as more people enter, even though the data is present, that's an issue every single trader has to tackle. Even somebody that's been in the market for 20 years, you still have to tune into yourself and say, man, I'm feeling scared right now. And then you go and make a bad trade because something's going on in your life and your life's not balanced. So, emotionality is also tied to life balance. And I think that's one of those things that a lot of people forget when they're trying to catch up to the other people that they know that have become millionaires, or other people they see online. You can't catch up to somebody. You need to be on your own path and figure out, what is my operating system? What makes me run most efficiently? And what is my strategy? So with that being said, let's go ahead. I'd like to ask you first, if there was three or four charts that you're looking at right now between traditional assets and Bitcoin, or Bitcoin related things, whether it be dominance or the USDT dominance, Bitcoin dominance, or total or specific Bitcoin itself, and then some traditional, what specific charts, if you had to pick 3 or 4 charts, are like, these are my go-to when I'm trying to get a good grasp on just the macro narrative of where we're at? And then we could take it further and then go into some other different assets and other charts further.
Sure. Let me come in with some PowerPoint here. Okay. So let's just start with the dollar, right? It's amazing how last year everyone was obsessed with the dollar. It's like, oh, it's up to 103. Oh my God, it's back to 101. That's the top. Buy crypto. And then, the dollar would just go up and up and up and up. It went to 111, and right up here, Bloomberg Magazine wrote an article that said this was the top of the dollar. And I said, I'll hate it and I won't stop hating it. So one thing you just have to remember is speed, magnitude, and direction, high school physics, right? Here you have a section of the 2022 rally that started at the beginning of the year and went out until like May. This is a weekly chart. So this was a 17-week move. Here, this move looks like it's going to completely unwind itself. So it could unwind itself. This is like called hidden pivot analysis. My target is 91, but that is maybe less important than to say this dollar down move. If it unwinds this is like basic stuff, right? This is just, what goes up one way, goes down the same way. And if it takes 17 weeks, you'd have the dollar index, 10 points lower by July. which fits into kind of a thing I have where, you may get government regulators coming in June or something happen. And, I'm kind of more in the lines of, sell at the end of May and then come back in July and watch it fly. Right. And if the dollar is trending lower, or if a lot of that dollar down move happens, that's going to support crypto. And obviously in legacy, I'm not the only person who sees this chart. So one of the things that is not been published is that money flowing into the United States to buy treasuries, right? How do we get away with borrowing $31 trillion? Easy. Money flows in to buy the treasuries. So if less money flows in, it's less demand for dollars. So dollar down, crypto up. Now, just looking at a 4-hour chart, right? Should you FOMO into ETH, right? This is a DeMark signal, the 13 signal. DeMark was a quantitative technical analyst. Sometimes the 13 top can be a sign of pause. So if there's a pause in ETH, I guess ETH leads everything, but Web 2 is going to buy Web 3. It's just going to happen. Avalanche has a partner with Amazon. It feels like no one cares. It's kind of funny. So if this altcoin rally continued in May, which it might, right? Like, you don't have to FOMO in today, but, can you imagine Avalanche back at 23? Right? I mean, it was at 23 earlier in the year, so why can't it go back there? And then there's this Polkadot chart, which I think is relevant for two reasons. The orange line is Bitcoin, and Polkadot has done nothing, and Polkadot is breaking out above what's called a fib speed resistance line. It's a TradingView indicator that helps me come up with diagonal research points. Recently, Citibank came out and said there's going to be $4 trillion in tokenized assets by X year, which means there's no liquidity in things like real estate, corporate bonds, and venture capital. And those assets are going to need to be tokenized so big banks like Citibank can trade them. Well, isn't Polkadot and Avalanche both potentially have security token functionality? Avalanche, I think, has it already, right? In one of their sub chains is what I would call it. And then, Polymath, which is now Polymesh, is going to try to operate in the Polkadot ecosystem. So the lack of imagination in some of these bigger altcoins, is kind of surprising to me. It's kind of surprising. Right now, the 32K level in Bitcoin, just to kind of round it out, I mean, this is kind of an obvious resistance level. And one of the things I've noticed is, the market has a tendency to punch through these levels and then perhaps come back off again. So I would say try to avoid being too emotional, right? Because you don't want to be in a situation where you FOMO in at 32 and then it kind of drops back to 30 before it resumes. So if it was the 4 to 5 charts of the day, combining tactical, macro, and say altcoin fundamentals, that's how I would do it.
I think that's brilliant. The partnership of AVAX with Amazon, I think, is going to be something interesting as it plays out into the future, especially with a lot of people don't even realize a lot of the decentralized nature, or in this case, I'll say, quote unquote, decentralized nature of a lot of the altcoins that are out there is a little bit of a faux story, because so much of it is hosted and run through Amazon Web Services. Whereas what would be interesting to me is if Amazon and the partnership with Amazon and AVAX were to be something as such that AVAX becomes the Web 3 sort of replacement layer for their Amazon Web Services functionality. That would, if that were the case, if that's the path that would happen, this is a bit of a hope and a dream here. If that would be the case that would happen, that would ultimately, unless a lot of these chains move out of having hosting on Amazon Web Services, that would ultimately mean that AVAX would then be the base layer for a lot of the crypto ecosystem in itself. So talk about an infrastructure play. That would be pretty incredible. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the USDT dominance breaking that key support level that we're at right now? Clearly, there's some question right now as to global liquidity, where we're still squeezing a bit here in the U.S., but we're seeing a lot in the eastern parts of the world printing like mad and opening the gates and the permissions in a way for allowing Bitcoin and digital asset purchasing and ownership. China, for instance, or Japan also printing, trying to buy back a lot of treasuries and bonds, supporting their yen and all this. So we're seeing tightening on our side and easing on that side, while we're also having an unclear regulatory uncertainty here in the U.S. Is this a setup for potential absolute distress and failure in terms of where we're at on the world stage in the U.S.? If we're still tightening and not having clarity on the most innovative technology of our time, is the world going to is the globe in general going to start to outpace us because of this? Is this going to be something, despite the U.S. economy, crypto may be able to perform well despite what's happening here, or are these things interlinked because of how big the global economy is affected by the U.S. economy?
Okay, so when it comes to regulation, I'm not under any illusions that the government is going to sit back and watch Bitcoin go to 50, 60, or 100 without trying to stop it, because it's embarrassing. It just embarrasses them that everybody is seeking an alternative. Yeah. Now, ironically, I believe lack of clarity favors crypto, because again, when Gensler takes everybody to court, the judge is going to look at him and go, what regulation and what law do you expect me to enforce? There isn't any, right? So, okay, Gensler has a view of the world. It's different from ours, but, good luck with all this in court. Good luck. Now, in the meantime, whatever is going on with regulation, companies have to take it seriously. All we're doing is pushing crypto into the waiting arms of the Chinese, who are trying to reinvigorate their stance of crypto by having Hong Kong be a major financial center. I mean, it used to be. I mean,
it's almost as if us not moving on this more quickly actually is becoming a national security threat. So it's silly that they're not moving more quickly to harness the innovation that is there.
Correct. Right. But I mean, current powers that be, they have a different agenda. They had a different agenda on oil when they came in, and they've got an additional agenda on crypto. And we will hear from those people. Like higher Bitcoin will freak them out. That's what I think may wind up happening, in June. Now back to Tether, bank deposits. We've entered this surreal new world, right? We went from FTX and the end of Binance and the end of the world last year, which was only 3-4 months ago, to a world where $1 in Bitcoin or $1 in QQQ is better than $1 in the bank. It's better than $1 in Tether. So, I mean, not investment advice, but, I understand everyone's been calling for the end of Tether for a long time. But I mean, Bitcoin is hard money, right? It takes a lot to generate a Bitcoin in terms of computer code, right? It's not just a store of value. It's not just digital gold. It's hard money because creating it is hard. And, legacy and people in general, okay, well, I'm not going to sit in this risky asset, AKA cash. I'm going to put it in something that, seems to be fairly stable and still low in price relative to where it was. I mean, a legacy investor will look at crypto and say, oh, well, Bitcoin was at 65 and now it's at 30. Oh, well, okay. Well, that seems cheap to me. Right. Yeah. So why take the risk of the banking system?
One of the things you're not going to be able to see this, Bill, but I'm going to share on my screen here. Just make sure it's coming up. This is essentially what he's talking about. The US dollar, you can see on this chart, is essentially, this is a purchasing power of the US dollar. And look at this as it has fallen over time. What you can buy, essentially how much what assets, what resources can you pay your water bill? How much does it cost? Think about your grandparents, how much they spent on buying a car, how many dollars. You could buy a brand new car, back in the 50s for, I don't know what the total was, let's say $1,500, $2,000, nice car. And now it costs, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 plus for a decent car. And then you can see here, the red line is the purchasing power of Bitcoin. So if anybody argues the validity of Bitcoin having value, and especially as it relates to the purchasing power of fiat currency, they have not looked at one chart. They have only listened to a news narrative from somebody like Jim Cramer or Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett is an acclaimed, amazing investor. However, one of the things we have to remember when we're listening to somebody like that is, one, do they know investing? Yes. Two, is the narrative that they're going to speak about in regards to something like Bitcoin, which could potentially displace a huge portion of their wealth, could that happen? Absolutely. Because it's not like Warren Buffett, if he wanted to switch to Bitcoin, for instance, he can't sell his assets. There's no liquidity available for him to sell all of his assets and move over one-to-one to Bitcoin in the manner of even years without crushing the economies and driving the value of everything down. So of course he's got to support, and he has no there's no incentive for him other than just the greater good and humanity and freedom of finance. There's no incentive for him to understand Bitcoin in a way for him to have a constructive, useful narrative for people looking to the future of where money's going to be, because his entire net worth is wrapped up in a legacy system. So what are your thoughts on some of the comments that Warren Buffett has even most recently made about it? For instance, even Bitcoin being a gambling coin. Do you still think that holds true? Or do you think we're past the gamble notion and we're just still on unshaky ground? But what's your thoughts in this regard?
Okay, well, I would like to think Bitcoin is not a gambling coin, but I don't think you're ever going to fully take out the FOMO casino nature of crypto. I mean, crypto is built on, sometimes excess creating the incentive for innovation. Like, Vitalik once said, ETH mooning and going in bubble mode allowed him to do the development he needed to do. So you're never going to take the FOMO out of crypto. Now, as far as Buffett goes, Buffett makes his money entering markets when you have a distress situation, right? Like 2008, it was actively investing in places like Goldman Sachs. He's kind of a buy low guy. And in Bitcoin, he can't really define what buy low is. At 15K, it sat below 20K for, 6-8 weeks or longer. You had time to buy Bitcoin, but he has no metric to be able to figure out whether that's cheap or not. All right. So he doesn't want to play because he works off legacy finance math. And in legacy finance math, you can't even plug in Bitcoin into legacy finance math because it's foreign exchange, it's currency. So when this generation of investors attack Bitcoin, they don't understand it because it doesn't fit in their research framework. And, they've got enough money that they don't need to take advantage. They don't need to.
Yeah.
Because, if the stocks fall apart in October, Buffett will be down there picking through the wreckage. Now, at the same time, when these guys attack it, they're just pushing the younger generation harder into crypto. Like, senior citizens that follow him are not going to buy Bitcoin, but younger people are going to listen to him and it's going to make them buy it more. Yeah. It's like, okay, the man wants this and I want the opposite of the man.
Well, it's interesting, as you talk about these, essentially, in other words, hype cycles that we see in the crypto markets. We see these massive explosions in price action moving to the upside. And along with that also comes massive explosions in interest, hype cycles. And you know what, Jordan Lindsay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. I had him on here a week or two ago, and he suggested that, you know, maybe it was likely that even the halving cycle that is built in, you know, programmed into the Bitcoin network and how the mining rewards are issued. And that for anybody that doesn't know, the halving cycle is the division by two. So it's a division in half of the mining rewards that miners get when they're competing to solve a cryptographic problem, that by doing so, they're decentralizing the network and also securing the network. And the more miners you have online, the more different individual entities you have to have in agreement of transaction and also decentralizing that ledger. So there's brilliance in the way that the Bitcoin ecosystem has been developed. But getting back to the hype cycles, Jordan Lindsay suggested that maybe the halving cycle was programmed as such because in reality, it could have been programmed to where each day some, you know, minuscule percentage was reduced, you know, daily, but that wouldn't create any supply shock on the network or any sort of, you know, shock of supply demand dynamics. And thus you would not be able to see these massive spikes in price, which in and of itself is programmed marketing, you know, because as price goes up and we break a new all-time high, we say, so right now we break past, let's see last cycle, when we broke past, when we got past that 14,000, which was a pre-halving pump, and then we get up to the 17 to 19,000 pre-all-time high, the news media was going crazy with, I mean, essentially absolutely free marketing. And not only that, word of mouth marketing of people, oh my God, you see what, so it's literally like, it's like a programmed marketing mechanism that in reality is the best marketing that humankind has ever seen, because what it does is it's marketing the best asset in the history of the world. The only problem with it is there are boom and bust cycles. And unfortunately, the majority of people that come into crypto, and we could see this on adoption rates and also new addresses and also where retail is buying, new retail is buying, they buy at tops. And then, okay, they you know, the bust happens. And, you know, I would say probably about 85% of those end up sitting out for a cycle before they end up getting back in at a higher level, because then they finally understand it. But as we're moving in towards the next halving, and we're also seeing a foundation that we have not seen before in the base layer, the base retail layer is starting to mature. And we're seeing this by some on-chain metrics showing supply held 1+ years, supply held 1 to 2, 3 years or more. And we're seeing these metrics mature over time. And we're seeing people hold, you know, previous retail that was emotional, now understanding that this is an asset to identify your entry points and hold until you see massive retail coming in and you take some profits while you still have some on the sideline. But what would you say about coming into this next Bitcoin cycle, or coming into this next halving, I should say, and having this narrative shift while we're also facing the same dynamic that birthed Bitcoin in the first place, the 2007, 2008 housing crisis, that really want, you know, Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, her, or they, you know, the group was, whether it was an individual or a group of people, you know, now we're seeing up only until now. And now we're seeing, you know, an inflationary crisis and a banking crisis to boot. That's now we're going in with maturity and some narrative understanding and some fundamental understanding. Do you think that there's a likelihood that that we would have a break of this theory of diminishing returns potentially, whether it's in this cycle or next cycle, as the narrative really supports understanding, and narrative really supports a larger sort of spike in adoption, at least one more cycle? Or do you think we're gonna have, you know, this last cycle is 3.5x, so maybe this cycle is only 2x or maybe 1.5x? Or do you think we're gonna have some sort of super bull cycle and then diminishing returns?
Okay, I think the Bitcoin cycle is something that, you know, helps commentators really discuss where we are in bear markets, right? Like if the market's down in between cycles, you know, the obvious thing to talk about is, well, the market's down because the cycle hasn't started yet. Now, something else is happening. Like last cycle, it really wasn't necessarily the Bitcoin halving that done it, although it can add to it. I mean, the Fed printed 6 trillion in 1 month, right, in March, and they had printed like 8 trillion over the last 12 years, right? That was driving crypto. And then Michael Saylor came in, okay? And then retail FOMO, and then the halving. So is the halving the big story? Is it the story? I don't think it is, right? Like this time around, it's going to be $1 in Bitcoin is better than $1 in the bank. You know, Satoshi Nakamoto may have been a Gann reader. Gann was really into ancient and biblical numbers. You know, 21 in the Bible is the number of wisdom. So that's why there's 21 million Bitcoin and not 22 million Bitcoin, in my opinion, right? So the next cycle, right, will be an October event in Legacy, right? And then you want Santa to bring you Bitcoin as a holiday season present, because when retail figures it out, and don't forget, FOMO is not just for retail, it's for institutions. So, I mean, if Bitcoin's going up and you're a crypto hedge fund, or you're a hedge fund period and you don't have Bitcoin, or if you're a crypto hedge fund and you don't have Avalanche, well, you're going to have to buy it, even if it's up. You have to buy it, because if some other fund buys it, you underperform. And if you have that going on, right, with the players like BlackRock wanting to come in and probably try to buy Coinbase, right, or MicroStrategy getting bought, because, you know, the only way to get that much Bitcoin is to buy a company that holds a lot, right? And then, of course, there's retail. So if you have these forces, right, or if you have a central bank solvency problem, that's what's going to drive the 2024 rally. And then you'll say, oh my God, everyone's buying Bitcoin and the supply is getting reduced. So it's not the halving and then an event. It's the event and then the halving that drives prices. Now, in terms of diminishing returns, you know, I don't think you can calculate that. I mean, if 1% of pension money and 1% of total U.S. deposits is 56 trillion in pensions and 17 trillion in bank deposits. I mean, I don't even want to tell you what ChatGPT said of what happens with 1% of that money floods into Bitcoin given current volume. Because again, liquidity is drying up. People are pulling money out. So what happens, you know, people are like, oh, well, the institutions are here. No, man, the institutions may be coming. And if Legacy falls apart, you know, 40 million Fidelity customers, you mentioned E-Trade, 40 million Fidelity customers can just press a green button and buy Bitcoin inside their Fidelity accounts. I mean, what happens then? That wasn't something you had to worry about in 2020. So can you predict what the top is? Can you predict the diminishing returns? You know, I would argue Satoshi's vision meant you could accelerate. It doesn't have to be a super cycle, but it can go parabolic like it did in 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to just shout out everybody that's here in chat. You're getting some gold here from Crypto Noble, Mr. Crypto Noble. You can find him over here on his Twitter page, which is right here at crypto_noble. One of the mods will drop it in chat there. Make sure you go and give him a follow. And if you have not yet, come over here to the BitLab Academy Twitter page, which is at Academy BitLab. Come down, retweet today's post. We will be doing a drawing at the end of the end of the stream, giving away some indicators and some courses and some other things in here. So make sure you get involved with that. And I just wanted to share one chart here. Let me see. It's right. Nope. It's right here. This is in reference to what Bill was just saying in regards to the lack of supply. Now, I just want everybody, I want to point out for everybody out there, there's of course about 19 million Bitcoin in circulation. How many have been lost? That's kind of irrelevant because we can't know that. But we can look at on-chain data like this. This is illiquid supply. And so of course, we have liquid supply and illiquid supply. Now, what is that? Liquid supply is easily accessible supply that is available to trade essentially now. So you have it available. It's not sitting in cold storage. And now illiquid supply is stuff, it's coins, it's assets that are held off of exchange and also primarily in wallets. Not only not off of exchange, but in wallets that over 75% of the assets that are held in those wallets don't get sold. And now we can see on this chart, Bill, I'm showing them a chart from the Rational Root, and this is over 78%, which is basically an 8-year. We haven't been this high in 8 years for how much illiquid supply is available. Now, if you really think about this, this is a percentage, 78%. Back here in 2014, we had millions of less Bitcoin in circulation. So here at 78%, not only are we at a level that we are at about 8 years ago, we also have astronomically more Bitcoin that's in supply, therefore an astronomically larger amount of Bitcoin that is illiquid supply, showing that there's maturity coming into this market. And what is the number one thing that is important, everybody, when you're looking at trading any asset, when you're trying to determine the value? Really what you're doing is, of course, you're looking at the psychology when you're looking at price action on a chart, but you're trying to understand what is the supply and what is the demand dynamic so that you can capitalize on movement. If price is going down and supply is also going down, but you can see fundamental data showing that adoption is rising and demand is increasing and there's projections for demand increasing, then that gives you confidence with price dropping because it gives you a better price point. Rather than being scared that price is falling, because you're looking at the data, not just the price, you have the tools in your belt. So I'm coming back over to you, Bill. I want to say, everybody, smash that like. We got over 200 people in the room, about 95 likes. Let's get this up over 250 likes today, and we'll do 2 giveaways instead of 1 today. So get these likes up, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you go over and follow Bill. Bill, let's dive into some charts. Let's, markets are pumping. Are we in a mini altcoin season, or are alts just starting to catch up to a lot of the movement that Bitcoin has? Is it only because was Ethereum holding it back, and now because what's the narrative here? And then what are some charts we can look at? What are some setups you're seeing? What are you feeling?
Okay, let's go to total 2. You mentioned total 3. So I mean, when it comes to total 2, I mean, if you look at, say, a weekly chart.
And for everybody, if you're not familiar, total 2 is the entire market cap minus Bitcoin. Total 3 is the entire market cap minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. So total 3 is essentially all the alts, all the crypto other than Bitcoin and Ethereum. Total 2 here is just the total market cap minus Bitcoin.
Okay, so with total 2, right? Total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin, as you said. It's pretty simple. Sometimes TA is not complicated. I mean, this is a base, right? It's square. And then there's that saying, the bigger the base, the higher into space. I mean, this base is going to be a year old in June, right? Or, this is the post-Celsius drop, and total 2 just slumped down here. Now, if you go back over here and you think about this thing we were doing in the dollar index, like speed, magnitude, and direction, right? So the longer it stays down here, the more likely it is that when it breaks out, it's going to go up the same way it went down. Now, when you have, and you start talking about alt season, I mean, that is like, that's like, sugar. That's like, for crypto people, because that gets them going. Now, could you have alt season in May? Yeah. I mean, I think sell in May and go away. You don't sell in May until the end of May. But if this gets wild and starts breaking out, you got to ask yourself, if Apple Computer or if some of these big tech stocks are worth close to $1 trillion, shouldn't Web3 be worth $1 trillion, right? That's like, basically that was the high pre-Celsius, in March of 2022. Okay. And then there's another idea, which, this won't be as sexy as people might want, but this is the CRB index. So CRB is as old as the hill. It's a commodities index. Okay. And this is a symmetrical triangle drawn on TradingView. And there's this idea that commodities like gold, oil, maybe even wheat and grains can go a lot higher because, they had a false breakdown here out of this triangle, making everyone think it was bearish. And then they turned around and broke out to the upside. near the apex of the triangle. You consider triangle theory. The closer you are to the apex on a breakout, the more it goes up. Now, you're like, Bill, it's a crypto show. Why are you telling me this? Well, once upon a time at another company, I worked with an economist who used to work at UBS. So this guy knew what he was talking about. And I commissioned a study, and he did the math that Ethereum is very closely tied to things like gold and grains. So if you have metals moving higher, ETH can move higher. And I would argue that, ETH didn't catch up to Bitcoin, although, from a common sense point of view, it did, right? But I actually think ETH caught up to gold. ETH caught up to metals. So, if you listen to anybody in, anywhere really, they're going to say, oh, well, of course, of course you need to buy gold in this environment. But, ETH went parabolic here. ETH is, I'm going to call this the white line. ETH started here in March and basically caught up to gold. So gold up, commodities up, ETH up. And then you look at total 3. Okay. So you take ETH back off the scale, and this remains to be seen whether or not this is a good idea or not. But, altcoins have to do something where, like, this is like a linear regression band. So, it is something in TradingView. Now, altcoins are trying to break out at the top of this band. Now, maybe a little consolidation is appropriate. Okay. Or perhaps this candlestick, this wick up, sometimes that is the dip. This is another thing you have to get used to in bull markets that's weird. Sometimes you'll see the market rush up and then rush back down again. That seemingly weak candlestick is the dip, or could be the dip. Because remember, this hybrid solar eclipse is coming. So can we have an alt season? I would argue you could have an alt spike. You could have 10 days where this stuff just rips because total 3 is breaking out. So the altcoin move is really more of a trading play, I think, because, again, hedge funds, they have to own it. They don't care if they say, oh, well, in 10 or 15 days, this will probably top out. No, they're not going to do that. They can't do that. So if Avalanche and Polkadot start moving, total 3 is going to start moving. So, yeah, this was a little bit of FOMO this morning, and people are going to take profits and say, okay, I'm done. But if this level holds down here at 386 billion in total 3, hedge funds are going to come back in. Period. Right? I mean, Polkadot is still below 7. I mean, no one believes in Polkadot, but again, common sense, right? The old ceiling was 661, right? So if the old ceiling is 661, they break out, they come back down and retest it, even though this candle looks like a shooting star and it doesn't look good. Folks, that could be the dip in Polkadot, because Polkadot has done nothing, right? And everyone's talking about tokenizing assets, and no one's talking about Polkadot. So I don't know, Polkadot's conceptual. You don't have to like it, but the fact that no one likes it means you could have a 10-day spike in altcoins. Like, no problem. It could just go crazy. And then, people may buy in at the top, but, you could have a 10-day period where people go, oh my God, I'm missing out. And those people are institutions, not retail.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have considered on the institutional side. I mean, I did yesterday on the stream, I did show that there's this kind of cloak and dagger of institutional exposure to the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem right now. With I was looking at the MicroStrategy stock and the percentage shareholders, and Vanguard had, I think, like 16% sharehold in MicroStrategy, Morgan Stanley, BlackRock. I mean, there's some Bank of America. So there is, people trying to get exposure. I mean, the list of mutual funds I could not believe how many mutual funds had exposure to MicroStrategy as well. So there's a kind of, I guess the traditional path to trying to get exposure without directly getting involved. But at least those institutions are dipping their toe in. Is there anything as it relates right now? If we've talked quite macro on some things. Is there anything? It's it's Friday 14th, 2023. And by the way, if you're watching the stream and you have not hit that like button and you have not joined our community or ding that bell, what are you doing? Get involved. Get these likes up over 200. 200. I don't even remember what it was. Over 200. We'll just do that and we'll give the double giveaway. But Bill, is there anything on a shorter term time frame? People want to know, if somebody is either sitting on the sidelines or if they're in a position. Is there anything, say, between now and it's going to be hard to determine price action on a weekend, but is there any indications that you're seeing, any bearish indications that may signal that we might see a little bit of a pullback? I did a poll. I can close it now. I did a poll before we get into this. And the poll is actually, I'm pretty proud of everybody that's in here right now, because the poll was finish this with your thoughts. Bitcoin and alts will, 1, either continue higher, 2, small correction from here, or 3, it's time for a monster pullback. And it was 42% said continue higher, 39% said small correction from here, and a little under 20% said monster pullback. So I really like that this is, kind of evenly split between continue higher or small correction. And we still have a good number of people, 20% or so, saying monster pullback. Is there any indication that you're seeing in the charts for the current rally on, for instance, a 4-hour or 8-hour chart in the midterm for Bitcoin and a couple key alts?
Right. So this is the DeMark work for a 4-hour ETH chart that I'm showing here. This 13 top would indicate that, we've had an adequate amount of FOMO, for today, maybe this weekend, right? You had a 13 top here in ETH, and you had 1 day of down move between 1900 and 1870. So could this give you a down move? Yeah. If it doesn't give you a down move, then you got to look out, because remember, bearish signals always have meaning if they don't work. And if the 22% of the people think a monster pullback is coming, those are frequently the people that buy at the top, right? So if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin has kind of a more serious topping situation on the 4-hour chart. There's the 13 top, there's the 9 top. I could explain what these things are, but the math is really complicated. The chart system basically makes the 13 and the 9 numbers bigger. So people have FOMO'd in, and it's the weekend. And if you were an institutional trader and you caught this move from 27 to 31, what I would do is I would take profits and go take my girlfriend out to dinner. Right. So in the short term, sometimes people just say it's enough money. Now, that said, if you go over to ETH, right? Here was a 13 top and nobody cared. That's why this thing went vertical, just looking purely at charts, right? It should have topped. Everybody should have sold off Shanghai. Well, guess what? Boom. Okay. Now this shows these green numbers can go from 5 to 9. This is daily. So you could have 4 more up days. Are they going to be huge up days? I don't know, but they could be. And then, if you look at these red numbers, you could have, again, 5 more up days or 6 more up days from 7 to 13, right? It's the same thing in Bitcoin, right? So here's the 13 top in Bitcoin, and it remains to be seen whether anyone cares. But according to these green numbers, you could have 3 more up days. Now, are they going to be huge up days? Well, they could be, because remember, the hybrid solar eclipse is on the 20th. And people who were going to sell Bitcoin to pay their taxes, they're done, right? That's happened. So could you get a God candle if the dip that should come doesn't come? Yeah. So you should get a dip. Okay. You should not underestimate how shallow the dip could be, because sometimes a pause is a dip. So tactically, look for a dip, but be cognizant of when the dip seems to end, even if it's shallow, right? 22% of the people want Bitcoin to go back to 20K so they can buy it. That never happens. You had months to buy it below 20K, right? Now the trend is different. Realistically, tactically, there's probably an opportunity if the dip is shallow. And then you're probably going to have, it's realistic to expect, kind of a God candle, right? So if you look at Cardano, right? So this is, a YouTube favorite. Cardano has broken out. Cardano broke this dotted line because one of the cool things about the DeMark system is that draws the stuff for you, right? It broke out, and then we could have 4 more up days in Cardano, right? Because, this is probably in DeMark in Cardano, it's a 3 wave. That red 3, because I can put an Elliott wave thing on here. 3 waves always last a little longer than you think, right? So, everyone's like, oh, okay, well, Ethereum's up 10%. Cardano could be next. Cardano could be next. And then the thing you also have to consider, which, I was positive XRP. I was positive XRP this year only because it's just a fast version of money. I think people got to start asking themselves, what happens, not if XRP is going to break out. I mean, I think I could tell you that, and the XRP army would eat it up. But let me ask you something. I mean, XRP has gone up, come down, and retested a prior high, right? Again, in bull markets, simple stuff works. And this is a base, right? Remember, the bigger the base, the higher in the space. I mean, XRP has spent the entire month of April banging on this prior high from November of last year, the pre-FTX debacle. So let me just ask a question. What could happen to altcoins if XRP breaks out? Because right now, as you can see by the daily chart, no one believes it, right? It goes up and then they sell and take profits. Well, okay. What happens if bulls counterattack? I mean, bulls have got this support underneath them. If you had XRP at 60 cents, where's Ethereum? Where's Cardano? Could you have a 5-day mania? So tactically, a dip. Tactically, be mindful of a shallow dip. Tactically, be mindful of a 5-day spike in altcoins, where I would not necessarily recommend buying the top. Okay. But then again, once it spikes up, you're going to have to rate it. Does it spike up and just go sideways? Is it a stair step function? Maybe. Okay. So tactically dip, emotional rally into the 20th, and then reevaluate, right? The case for crypto is out there because, again, this is just XRP. This is weekly. So if you go 1 through 9, you're only on a 4, and you're supposed to buy the dip on a 4. So if this downtick in XRP, this move off the top, if that is the dip, I mean, ask yourself this. Like, that's how you have to think in bull markets. Cardano is the same way, right? I mean, Cardano has resistance around 46 cents. Okay. So yeah, Cardano's got resistance, and normally you don't want to buy resistance. You don't want to, but this 1, 2, 3 shows that, where's Cardano going to be if you had 6 more up weeks? I don't recommend buying resistance because that's not what you're supposed to do. But you do have to ask yourself, Cardano, XRP, what happens if they break out? I mean, can you imagine what YouTube's going to look like? People are going to be on fire. So when I talk about a 10-day alt season or a 10-day spike, that could occur now, that could occur in May, but don't underestimate what can happen. Like, people underestimated what could happen in Bitcoin. Don't underestimate what can happen in altcoins in a confined time frame. So that's why you want to be keeping an eye on your 90-minute charts, right? I mean, you get the dip, even your 4-hour chart, you get a dip in Bitcoin sub 30K to 21,854. That's a DeMark based support point. So, again, can you blame people for taking profits and going out to dinner this weekend because they can afford it? Steak dinner, 2 drinks, crab cake appetizer, 2 cups of coffee, $250.
So I'm looking at the charts right now, and I'm seeing that there's a bit of a sell-off happen. You know, the funny thing about this is the newcomers to the space will say, Bitcoin's dumping, Cardano's dumping. And, you know, we just followed, you know, several, 8 to 12% pumps over various periods of time over the last 2 months. And we get, you know, a couple $100 move to the downside on Bitcoin, for instance, and people say it's dumping. But, you know, I think everything is in context. If we pull up the Bitcoin chart right now, if you could pull it up on your side, you know, for people, you know, there's all the indicators in the world that you could use out there. But again, I want to, again, re-suggest to people that you do the work to understand candles and just general candle patterns. Because if you looked at nothing else and saw no news headlines, saw no FOMC talking minutes, saw nothing other than the charts, you would see, if you could pull it up on the, if you pull it up on the 24-minute chart, you'll see that looking on the smaller time frame, we had wow, your chart looks so different than mine. The Bitcoin.
Well, this is Bitcoin 4 hour. I mean, I can go to TradingView if you want to match it up.
Yeah, go to the 24-minute. You'll see that there was a fairly kind of a little wonky, but essentially inverse. Sorry, not inverse. A head and shoulders that was basically pointing to bulls taking an attempt to the upside, bears bringing them back down. Bulls taking a stronger attempt to the upside, and then bears bringing them back down. And then you form a neckline there. And just by seeing that you have that right shoulder, essentially a very basic understanding of just price action and psychology of markets. If you have a high, and then not even talking about the head and shoulders, if you have a high and then a lower high, with bullish attempts, you're signaling that the bulls have less strength than they did before. And everything in the world it's like a sliding scale from left to right, right? And so if bulls are weakening, then that means bears are getting stronger and essentially going to make an attempt. And we very clearly have this playing out right there. And so just as he's marked out here perfectly, we can see if you do see price action pulling down, then if you break down the larger time frames all the way down to the smaller time frames, you can see previous price action highs is a wonderful target for at least a stopping point to reassess what the momentum and the velocity and all the signals are from there. But you can utilize this stuff before you utilize any indicator. And by understanding this stuff deeply, you don't have to spend hours trying to figure out price action. I'm sure Bill's been in the market long enough. He can look at a chart with 0 lines whatsoever and have a good understanding. Okay, this is a sort of psychological narrative of what's happening between the bulls and the bears, because you see it playing out based on double tops or double bottoms or head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders or all the different chart patterns that you can see that is demarking what the psychology of the market is. So what would you say to somebody right now that maybe they're newer, maybe they're not sure what to do because they bought, I'm going to mark up your chart real quick. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but maybe they bought, not format. Hold on one second. Undo. Maybe they bought right there and they see this pushing up and now it's selling. Maybe they bought here, whatever the narrative is here. What would you say to somebody that's zoomed in right now and they're scared because this is pulling back a little bit?
Okay, well, we had this thing. We have a theme on the show. Look to the left, right? So this is where Bitcoin FOMO, this was like the FOMO candle on the 24-minute. Most likely I think that's institutions piling in. It's what I would call forced buying. And yeah, there's retail coming in at the top too. But when you get a candle like this, that's an institution, I think. So what happens is when you get forced buying, right, it's this huge run up. But when they're done and the order's filled, everyone just sort of looks around and goes, okay, what do we do now? And then somebody takes profits and you flush it out and wind up with one of these wicks. Where did the wick stop? Well, I don't know. You had a prior high here at 30,300. You had a couple of prior highs here from the 11th. and you had this congestion zone from the 13th, right? Where, that's where the institution went, like right here. This is where the institutions were like, okay, we got the dip, and it was a shallow dip. We're not getting a dip, so we're going to have to pay up. So if you bought the top, right, you don't want to puke it out on top of support, because guess what? The institution that made this sort of like mini God candle, what, you think they're done? No, they're going to be back. And so are retail traders and people who look to the left. So, I'm not trying to sell you on up forever, but you don't want to sell support. You don't want to buy resistance like in Cardano, like it's tempting to FOMO in because there's a lot of good stuff there, but there is resistance at 46. Now, Cardano takes out 46, forget about it. But my point is, don't sell support. Don't buy resistance and don't sell support after you look to the left.
Yeah, it's one of the most forgotten things on here is we forget in crypto, or not, let me take that back. We forget in trading and investing that we have a projected roadmap, and the projected roadmap is never a guarantee, but it's kind of like, I kind of relate it to driving on a mountain highway. When you're driving on a mountain highway at night, you don't know that the road is, complete 1,000 miles ahead. All you can see, because you have these curvy, windy roads, but you have your headlights on and you can see 200 feet in front of you, and there's a suggestion that the road is there and it continues to be there. So you go until the road's not there anymore. Similarly, when you're doing TA and you're looking to the left, seeing where you have all these various, I don't know how to change this, but seeing where you have all, here we are, draw. Seeing where you have all these various, basically price action tops, and basically formed of a sort of resistance layer that now has become support, and we're seeing this bounce right at this level. Does this mean this is absolutely going to hold? Not necessarily, but if somebody was swing trading this, if you are swing trading this, then this is a classic sort of setup where you have a bearish reversal pattern forming, and the break of this very aggressive move right here, if you were to enter right there at the first break. But the conservative is you let it come back up and you let it retest. You let it retest that line, and you've got somewhere in this region, you've got a clear sort of trade to make from this level down, at least to take profit at previous highs. And you could kind of break up the levels based on this high and then this broader level of support. So you're laddering out your entries. So we've got a little bit of time left. I want to throw it to you if there's any other topics on the charts, or any other setups, or any other assets maybe in the crypto ecosystem that you feel like are not getting enough attention, or are primed for a move that is sort of a sidelined gem, if you will. Any other TA you want to do? We can see if there's anybody says anything in chat that we maybe haven't identified, but we can go through.
Okay, so I'll give you two things. I always used to like back in the day, like way back in the day, I used to use the stock of Merrill Lynch as an indicator for both the stock and the bond markets, because when the investment bank stocks would rally, bond markets would follow. So here's two facts. It's coming out of ChatGPT. A report from PricewaterhouseCoopers revealed that a third of traditional hedge funds are now investing in crypto, highlighting the growing acceptance of Bitcoin and altcoins as alternative assets. Okay, now take that fact and look at the stock of Mike Novogratz's hedge fund, Galaxy Digital. Okay, now Galaxy Digital, remember we just looked at the Head and Shoulders top? Well, this looks like a complex Head and Shoulders bottom, two heads, two shoulders. You got a break of the neckline here. Okay, you have a nice little bump and run, where it comes down and retests, just like the chart you were just showing. And then it takes off. So what's the target of this pattern? Well, it's the distance between the bottom of the head and the neckline projected up from the point of the breakout. Okay, the target on that is 8.3. The stock now trades at 5.8. I don't have a calculator in front of me, but that's a big percentage return. Look at the Bitcoin miners. Look at Hut mining. Right? I mean, how are you going to get your hands on a ton of Bitcoin? You may have to buy a miner. Honestly. I mean, Hut used to trade at 16 and now trades at 2. I mean, Hut is not even it hasn't gotten to the top of the range yet. Just as an example, right? And MicroStrategy, you brought this up before. You know, it hasn't gone back to its pre-FTX high at 372. Now, 372 is resistance, but ask yourself this question. Why are BlackRock, Fidelity, and all these mutual funds buying MicroStrategy? Well, it's not a futures contract and it's not an ETF. So they don't have to worry about regulatory nonsense. MicroStrategy is effectively a spot Bitcoin ETF. It's a small computer company with this outsized Bitcoin position. So if you got to get exposure to physical Bitcoin, you buy MicroStrategy. And then eventually somebody's going to come by and buy MicroStrategy, the company. That's probably post-halving. That is his haha strategy. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have, I'm going to have 20% of the world's Bitcoin. So if you want 20% of the world's Bitcoin, you're going to pay me, an ungodly amount for the stock of my company. And, just to put this in perspective, MicroStrategy at one point was trading at 1,000 back in 2021. That's not like it's ancient history, right? So, it doesn't have to go to 1,000, but, ironically, no one believes this rally. Otherwise, this would be a lot higher.
And do you think that Michael Saylor would actually sell MicroStrategy? I feel like he's so gung-ho. Maybe it's, I don't know, but he wouldn't be able to sell it near a top. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's such an interesting consideration.
Yeah, I mean, look, he doesn't have to sell the company, but as CEO, I mean, you open up the finance textbook, the job of managers is to create shareholder value, right? So, I mean, how does MicroStrategy create shareholder value? Do they sell more software and compete with Microsoft and Oracle? Or do you buy a ton of Bitcoin to drive shareholder value? I mean, Michael Saylor could theoretically create a Bitcoin yield curve. He could start issuing commercial paper and debt denominated in Bitcoin. And, you could have interest rates develop depending on what the market, requires to buy the Bitcoin denominated debt. I mean, when you hear the yield curve and when you hear that in legacy, that's just a collection and a plot of different interest rates for different bonds, like the 2-year, the 5-year, the 10-year, the 30-year. Okay. I heard a joke once that, a Bitcoin maxi said, there's no such thing as DeFi because we haven't invented it yet on Bitcoin. Like, this guy could just be getting started. So MicroStrategy, yeah, it's the spot Bitcoin ETF. And currently, no one really believes it. And the thing you have to ask yourself is, what happens if people really start to believe it? Right? That's when you get your 24-minute chart out. You were asking me, what do you tell the person who bought the top of a short-term move and they're scared? Well, you show them this and you show them that people don't believe yet. They don't. So you have to use risk management. If you did a bad trade, if you bought the top, then you have something in common with all the greatest traders in the world, because they've all bought the top and they've all sold the low at some point, and maybe even they did it on the same move in the same instrument. So if you did a bad trade, eliminate the trade and start over, clear your head and be like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And again, with crypto, it's understandable. Like, FOMOing in at the top is like the hopes and dreams of crypto. It's like, you can forgive yourself because it's hopes and dreams. It's like, oh, my life's going to change. I'm buying. Forgive yourself, man. It happens.
It's interesting on this chart you just pulled up as well. Even though there's lack of full on belief, there is this inverse head and shoulders that we have right here as well. That it looks like it's. I won't call it broken out yet. We don't have a close on this weekly, but there are the challenging part for anybody out there trying to do TA, if you're still learning, is that there's no easy answer. Bill said it best earlier. The edge is one, of course, getting out of your emotions using data, but two, finding confluence and between momentum, velocity, and volume amongst any other indicator additions that you use on top of that. But those three things really help paint the picture of the health of moves. And while that is setting up currently right now with potential, that is setting up right now for a potential large bullish movement to the upside. That's also institutional players also see that setup and can trap people to the upside before we continue on to the downside. So there's no easy answer here other than practice healthy risk management. Now, Bill, I know we're coming up here on time. Before we go, we're going to continue on here a little bit without you because I got to do the giveaway. But I do want to, everybody, if you have not followed Bill, you can follow him here at Crypto Noble. And I'm going to come back over to your face here. Is there any other things that you wanted to share before you go, or any other spots you like people to find you out? Any things that you're doing? Talk about your YouTube channel as well.
Sure. So I do have my own YouTube channel now at Crypto Noble. You know, we're cranking out shorts, and we're expanding the seasonal GAN astrology aspect aggressively. You know, there's my Twitter, as you mentioned. I work for Emerging Asset Group. You know, we have 2 tokens, which I own, but we also started Block 47. We have tokenized, or are trying to tokenize, the Diamond District in Manhattan. So if you want to go from Ethereum to diamonds, you can do that without going to a bank. Alternative assets, right? So the use case that Satoshi made for crypto, which everyone gave up on in December, is now happening. So this is an exciting time to be in crypto. And whether you get every trade right or wrong, you know, just think of yourself as being on your photo being on a wall in a museum, in a Hall of Fame, as somebody who got involved in crypto right before the true vision of crypto unfolded.
Man, I couldn't say that any better myself, man. Bill, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. I appreciate you sharing a different look because, you know, I talk on here every day. So also, thank you for coming on and letting me rest my voice and ask some questions and learn some stuff, because make no joke about it. No matter how expert any of you in the chat think somebody is, the best people out there are always learning. They're doing their best to challenge the notions they have, learn, you know, gain access to different views on things so that they can make sure that they have the broadest and most informed view on anything that they're doing. I don't care if it's golfing, playing tennis, swimming, or you know, here in the charts. And of course, as Bill said it, he said it himself best, we are in the midst of the biggest technological revolution of our time. Of course, it wouldn't be possible without computers, but I think the fact that we have the computer that then matriculated into the innovation of the internet, and now we have blockchain, with each technological innovation comes greater impact. And so this is, I think, going to be one of the greatest impacts of our time. So all of you that are in chat, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell. Make sure you come over to Notorious Bill's Crypto Noble YouTube, which is youtube.com/@CryptoNoble. I'm showing it for you all here on the stream. And I want to say, Bill, thank you again for being here. I look forward to having you back next week.
Hey, we'll see you soon.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later. Now, everybody, thank you all for being here. We're going to continue on here. We'll do some TA here in the last few minutes. Look at some last looks and some coins. Everybody, throw some coins in the chat right now. We're gonna do some coins, and we're gonna do a giveaway. Come over to the BitLab Academy page. Come and do a retweet here. Follow BitLab Academy and retweet this. We'll be drawing from those of you that do that. The giveaway is going to be either a multi-month membership, a month, or a multi-month membership to courses, indicators, or maybe even both courses and indicators, and even a chance for some lifetime access. So come and retweet this tweet. Hit that like button here in the stream. Let's get this over 200, and I will do 2 giveaways. Do 200 likes on this stream. On the like button right below this video. And if you haven't yet, before I go, make sure you follow all these socials that are right here, and you check out bitlabacademy.com. We are in the midst of getting all the things finally tied together for the rollout of all the new content. So let's go ahead and jump into these charts as we wrap out this stream. We're going to come right here. Let's look at this. Just as I had expected, NASDAQ did break out to the upside. It's fallen back into this rising wedge. Is this ominous, or is this? We do have this key support here. If we lose this support, it's going to be very, very critical that NASDAQ holds this level in terms of traditional markets. Now, we're more interested in crypto right now, so let's talk about that. We got the dominance here. We have the dominance here on. We have the dominance on Bitcoin falling. This is still setting up for great setups for the altcoin markets. This is falling here, which means that more liquidity is flowing into Bitcoin, or less liquidity is falling out of altcoins as fast as it is falling into Bitcoin or going into Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. We got Bitcoin is dropping. Like this is on the 24-minute chart. Let's look at an hour, get a better view here. Bitcoin is falling here. Do we have any supports below us? Well, we do have this channel that we did have here that we did. Look at this. This head and shoulders here broke right through this. So now at this point, I would say if we pull this line across, we've got this sort of, I want to do it more like a channel. Yeah. So we've got the point of control, excuse me, from the volume, meaning the highest level of interest for that price level. These are these bars here on the VPVR. The highest level, we're coming down to it now. We're sitting right here at this volume node. We had low volume in this region, and we see that we fell right through this. So if we lose this level, I'm looking at coming down to this level, $30,100. We of course have this low right below that at 30,000. I'd like for the bulls, I'd like for this to stay above 30,000. We could very well come down here to 29,900 area. If we do lose this level, this means on the 1 hour chart, at least, we're also losing this EMA ribbon that is part of the market intelligence. We do have four bullish divergences though. We have the relative extremist sticking very far out, and this is not, this is neutral here on this significant movement indicator, which is a collection of all the momentum indicators. So we'd like to see some blue flash here, which we're getting it on the 30-minute. So we do have some hope here. This could just be, and we can measure this, option T, come down here, come down just like this. We've already met this target on the head and shoulders. Let's see if we continue down. If we do, I'd like to hold above 29,900, 29,950-ish. If we lose this level, we may be looking at some more downside. Now, coming out of here, we can see Cardano has been having a very strong push. Where is my drawing? We could see this. Come on, we could do it. We could see this basically parabolic trend that is formed. Sorry for the crooked lines I'm drawing with my mouse. This parabolic trend that is formed here. Now, if we do look like this is falling into the EMA ribbon, finding some support, this does look a little indecisive with a large wick to the upside and downside. Now, we do have 30 minutes left on this candle, so let's go to a smaller time frame, get a look here, look-see daisy, what's going on. We did get, look at this, 4 bullish divergences, and in keeping with that, we also had the relative extremist sticking out just slightly, and the blue wave here forming a likely bottom on this zone. So are we going to continue up? Well, this is important because we see on this candle, we see a large push to the upside, and then the bears eat this back down. So we could be in for a little more of an attempt to a downside, or maybe even a bear flag if we're not able to reclaim movement here to the upside. Now, just really quick, we can see Algorand, strong sell-off here, but we are coming into, let's see the volume. Okay, let's go to auto. Let's zoom out on this a bit. Okay, now we have a strong base here with all this volume directly below us. We have this previous high that we are testing right now. If we do lose this, then we do have a lot of volume in this area. I would like as a bull, I would like the Algorand to hold this level here if it does come down further and bounce from this level before it continues to the upside. If we do lose this level, then we may be, why is my, there we go. My trading view locked up. If we do lose this level here, we may be retesting the lows, the point of control here at 21 cents, but the lows here down at 21, 20. This is 21.7. We may be testing lows down here again at 21.17. Now coming out here, we can see just really quick because we got to get to these giveaways. We're losing the level here. Gala maybe in for more downside, but all of this could be a fake out for higher price action. So manage your risk appropriately. We see the same thing here with Filecoin, push up, sell off, push up, sell off strong here. Are we going to come back and retest this level down at 592? We are seeing some strong selling here on the 2 hour. AVAX, same thing. Everything's looking very similar. It looks like this could be a bit of a emotional pullback, washout. This is all going to depend on where the risk is in the space and the derivatives contracts that are out there. Hit that like button. Let's get it. We're at 174. Let's get it over 200. I'll do 2 giveaways. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. I need to log in here. Boom. We're going to log into, golly, hold on one second. I got to switch to BitLab. Now we're going to do the 2 giveaways. Shout you out here in chat. Let's go ahead and reload this page, log in with Twitter. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. Now, okay, we're coming over here to today's. We're doing at least one. We're at 176. It looks like we might be only doing 1 giveaway. That's okay. It's going to be a good giveaway. We're going to copy this tweet from today, copy link. Now we're coming over to, where is it at? Put in the tweet, paste. Now we're going to, here we go. Get Twitter data. Now, here we go. Let's see who won, and then we will spin for what you won. Okay, Romandine Vence. You are the contest winner, and what did you win? Oh, you know what? We're just doing today. That's okay. What are you winning today? All right, you get 1 month of courses. Reach out to us in the Discord. Get involved in the Discord. Reach out to Alex Green or myself in the lobby. I will also try and ping you on Twitter, and we will get you all set up there. We're at 182. You know what? We're going to do one more giveaway just because I did not spin for the random days of the week. So we're going to see if there's going to be one more winner here. Maybe another one on Friday. Maybe, oh, so from Saturday. All right, which one was that? That was Banks. So that was this one right here. Copy link to tweet. I'm back over here. Now we're going to do this, get Twitter data. This is why you got to retweet every day. Follow us on BitLab Academy, at Academy BitLab. Make sure you are retweeting those daily tweets, and you're going to be entered to win some great stuff here. And you're just helping support the community as well. So I appreciate that. Let's see, Ryan Ennis. All right, you win. We're going to give you a 1 month as well since we already spun that. So shout out to Ryan Ennis, 42. Now, before you go, make sure you come over and follow BitLab. Come over to the BitLab Academy page, which is here at BitLab Academy. BitLab Academy. Boom. Make sure you come check us out over here. Sign up for the newsletter. When you see this page roll over, which is going to be in a matter of days, we've got so much new content, psychology of trading, candles, candle patterns, trading strategies, on-chain data analysis, you know, a whole technical analysis suite, trading, psychology of trading, market trade metric. There's so much in the new core. It's all new content, all new video content, along with quizzes and a great Discord community. So go and join us over at Discord. There's a free area there. And when you become a member at BitLab Academy, if you do it now, you're going to keep these lower prices for life because prices are going up when we roll over the new content, because it's so much more stuff, and we have more stuff, more membership perks that we're giving away as well. So shout out to everybody that's here. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Head over to BitBoy Crypto now. I am going to be doing some on-chain data analysis for the live stream there. So check us out there and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell if you have not yet, and I will see you there. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Over and out. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Hit that like button, subscribe, and come again. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for being here. Be in the community and be our friend. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Ding that bell. Check out bitlabacademy.com. I'll see you all later.